And good morning, and welcome to a very, very special edition of Truth to Power. I almost wanted to say chats and chuckles, but I had to kind of catch myself since I've got Miss Chats and Chuckles, Miss Kimberly Clemens on the set with me today, so I'm probably a little nervous at the same time. But welcome to a very special edition of Truth to Power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and we're today going to really discuss people's well-being, people's making certain that people are aware of their body and the health and the nutrition and the safekeeping and the safeguarding of their bodies and their health and their well-being. And in a lot of cases, it's not just our personal health, but it's also our loved ones' health as well. And we have a very special guest, and she is a nurse who pretty much, like, I think that if you go to Pontiac, everybody knows who she is. I was teasing her when we were getting ready to start the show. And I said, there will probably be one day when you're riding up that 75 corridor going to Pontiac, you'll see the sign that says, "Welcome to Pontiac," and it'll have our special guest, Denise Harris's name, on there with all of the things that she does. She is a pillar in the community of Pontiac. But accompany me on this journey today to get all of this information, all this valued information from Denise Harris, is a young lady who here at the station makes everybody proud when they see her smile, when they come on the show with her, when they're interviewed by her. And she just is a plethora of information where she brings, and I want to slip it in, where she brings truth to power, but she has the chatter that matters, and that is Kimberly Clemens. Kimberly, Denise, welcome to a special edition of Truth to Power today.
Thank you so much. It is a pleasure to sit next to you and to you.
Thank you. You as well.
Yeah.
Well, let's get started. It's interesting because you two kind of knew each other and met, seemed like, for the first time today. And Kimberly, I'm going to do this because I can kind of, let the chats and chuckles part come out in this interview today. But let you ask Denise Harris the first question, in terms of, because you two seem like you two have a lot in common. You know a lot of the same people. You don't meet strangers. And Denise, I'm getting more to, acquainted with you, in terms of saying the people that you come across in your circles and your spheres of influence. But Kimberly, I'll let you ask her the first question pertaining to, the type of business that she operates up in the Pontiac area.
Wonderful. Thank you, Darwin.
Oh, you're very welcome.
It truly is a pleasure to be here, to walk in and to see Nurse,
Thank you.
to see you here. It definitely warmed my heart. But my first question really would be, basically, who are you? Not what you do, because what you do, we know what you do, but who are you? Why are you doing those types of things?
So I've always wanted to be a nurse. I never knew anything different. At the young age, when I had dolls, I was practicing with my dolls on taking care of them. I always had a heart of caring, a spirit of caring. Leaving my nursing position, my father died of a heart attack, so that's what kind of put me into the CPR realm. So he died of a heart attack. My brother died of an overdose, and then I turned my passion and my pain into purpose, and don't want anyone to experience anything that I've had to experience with that. Trying to just educate my community. It was a big step leaving the nursing field. Everyone thought I was crazy, but I just told them I'm not nursing behind walls. I'm nursing out in the community now. So I am Pontiac's community nurse.
Sounds like you are a caring very
Yes.
caring person, where you not only care about the things that are happening in your life, but you want to look out for those in the
yes.
community.
Yes, absolutely.
So when you look at, Denise, the things that you're doing, what are you most proud of that you do in this community of Pontiac?
I'm just proud that I'm able to educate those, because there's so many people that do not know how to save a life, how to even advocate for themselves. And I'm just proud that I'm able to be that person that everybody knows in my community and comes to. And if I can't give them the answers, I know where to resource them to.
Yeah, I was talking with you earlier, and you just said that there was a tragedy that you had experienced.
Yes.
And I was telling you how her name is LaShawn. She had a tragedy that she experienced that pushed her out into the community, that she's also teaching CPR. So when those tragedies hit, I think we talked a little bit too, like when there's something major that's happening,
Yeah.
you don't want to just talk about it. You want to do something about it that's going to benefit people.
Correct. Because like as a nurse, we had to do that every 2 years. We have to renew our BLS. And at that time, it was just kind of another task. Like, hey, I already know how to do this. Why do we have to keep doing this? But when it affects you personally, and you know that you can be that voice for so many
Yeah.
and teach them, it's more personal.
Well, one thing I do, just like what Kimberly does on her Chats and Chuckles show, is that you mentioned BLS. So we like to educate people, because there's a lot of people that might not know, what BLS stands for. But what is that? That's an acronym for what?
It is. So the BLS is for basic life support. You have CPR, that would be for your lay, just your community people maybe in organizations, sports, churches. They're just going to learn CPR.
And the same thing with CPR. 'cause
So
it's-
that's cardiopulmonary resuscitation, right? So that's just going to be the basics. BLS takes it that step further. That's for healthcare providers. They're going to have a couple different things that you might not have, a bag valve mask. They're going to check a pulse. When you learn CPR as a layperson, you're not really checking a pulse. It just kind of gets you to that compressions, getting an AED, checking for breathing, or BLS takes it a step further. And then there's ACLS, which is advanced cardiac life support, and that's more for your EMS, your doctors, your ICU staff. That's when we start pushing the drugs that help keep the heart going or restarting the heart. So there's just different levels to it.
So when you mentioned about the drugs that help to get the heart started back again if the heart stops, what are some of the drugs that a healthcare professional would administer?
Well, first and foremost, they're going to do epinephrine, and they can do 1 milligram of that 3 times. And then there's like a whole algorithm of drugs that they would do based on how the heart reacted to that. But epinephrine is going to be your first line of defense for starting the heart.
So someone's trained at that level to do that?
Absolutely.
And that's a program that you offer?
Yes, they have to be certified for that. And you wouldn't just train anybody to do that, because they have to first be in a position where they would be able to access those drugs. That's going to definitely be your hospital staff and your EMS.
Oh,
or
so
your,
not just everyday lay people.
people would not be
do ALS.
ACLS.
ACLS. Okay.
Yes, and that's advanced cardiac life support.
Got it.
And how do they administer the epinephrine?
Well, that would be through an IV. That's why it would happen like in a hospital setting or in the back of a EMS or something
All right,
like
because
that.
everybody's not just walking around
Around
with that
with
in their
epinephrine.
vehicle.
Exactly. Right.
So yeah, we'll see. We'll probably just stick to the CPR and first aid, and then maybe a little bit to talk about BLS. The ACLS is probably for another show.
So,
Okay.
so what's the age
So
that
is-
someone can do the BLS?
I have started doing youth, and I start them at 11 years old. They just have to be able to do the compressions. I compare that with a child and babysitting safety course. At 11, they're able to understand. They want to understand. They feel empowered. And the youth are out here, coming to my classes all the time. I've paired with the City of Pontiac's Youth and Recreation. I've done churches with the youth, and also Inkster's Youth and Recreation Department as well. And they loved doing it. They loved
good.
learning. And I don't think that you could be too young. My son was 6 when I first started doing this, so he would practice on his stuffed animals. I mean, probably not knowing what he's doing, but now
Yeah.
he could teach
He
a
can
class
do
with
it.
me.
Oh, that's good.
So what are some of the main things that now you have a variety of different services that you offer.
Yes.
What's the name of your business?
So my business is Healing Heart Safety Services. We are located in Pontiac, the downtown area. We do CPR and first aid. We also do Narcan training. I'm the prevention coordinator for the city of Pontiac under the Alliance Community Coalition of Healthy Communities. So I've always instituted Narcan into my CPR and first aid classes. And now that I'm the coordinator for that, I'm able to, if you take a class with me, you get Narcan training as well.
Now, kind of go into a little detail about what is Narcan.
I know, because that's like the hottest thing that's been happening over the last, five?
Yeah, so the last few years, before it was very hard to get, as I stated, with my CPR classes, I wanted to initiate that with it. A couple years ago, you couldn't get your hands on it. Now, in Oakland County, where I'm from, and now you see it down here in Wayne County and other counties as well, but we have what's called Save a Life stations, and those Save a Life stations have the Narcan in it in a kit. Narcan is the reversal of an opioid. So it's the antidote. So if you have opioid in your system, it's going to reverse it. If you don't have opioid in your system, then it's not going to hurt you. So if you thought somebody was overdosing and they really weren't, it's not going to harm them.
And what are some of the opioids that somebody could have in their system?
So usually you will see right now there's a big thing going on where they're crushing and restamping pills. So they're making fake pills. So you would see opioids with that. You would see opioids with your fentanyl. A lot of things are being laced with fentanyl. And then a lot of times I get, hey, I don't need to learn about Narcan because I don't know anyone who does drugs. But the reality is you could have an elderly family member, grandmother, anyone, and they could fall and break a hip. Pain medication is an opioid. They could take too much. They could already be demented. They could already be, a little confused. You have different family members taking care of them at home, per se. And you give too much of any opioid in a certain amount of time, it's going to decrease the respiration. So if there's no one there to call 911 or to administer the Narcan, then that's how people overdose. We have a lot of Vietnam vets who have chronic pain. Lord forbid they get any new pain because our healthcare system only allows them to have so much pain medication in a certain amount of time, right? So they buy some from Johnny down the street. Well, his was laced with fentanyl. They accidentally overdose and die. You also have a lot of blended families. What goes on in one home might not go on in another home. It only takes a minute amount for a child to ingest the wrong thing. So I always like to try to break that stigma. It doesn't just have to be the drug abuser of why you should have Narcan on you. I always say I would rather have it on me and never need it than to need it and never have it on.
Yeah, one of the things that I think is extremely important too is once you get that training, you got to remember how to use it, how to store it. You also have to watch the date because it does expire.
Absolutely. So on our Narcan boxes, there is a date on the bottom. They come in a bulky box, so I kind of take those out and I pass them out to my participants in my class or anytime I train somebody. And there's also an expiration date on the actual medication itself. Storage says not too hot, not too cold. I think it's between 59 and 79 degrees. But the reality is in these stations that they're out throughout Oakland County, they're going to be out there all winter long, even though it's 60 degrees today.
Yeah.
But and they're out there all summer long as well. I would be more worried about them being frozen and have to warm them up than I would about them being in the heat.
Now talk about what is involved in that Narcan kit.
So with the Narcan, it's 2 doses come in a box. It's very easy to use. You're literally just pushing a button into their nostril until you cannot push it no more. You're waiting about 2 minutes. You're giving them some rescue breathing. So with my classes, I give them a kit that is provided by the Alliance Coalition of Healthy Communities. And in that kit, it has a bag, keychain bag mask, because you want to give them rescue breathing because the side effect of the Narcan is decreased respirations, right? And the respirations decrease into the point where they stop. So you would pinch their nose, tilt their head back, put that mask on, and provide rescue breathing. At about 2 minutes, no more than 3 minutes, if they haven't responded, because they can respond and they can be violent, they can be disoriented, so you always want to prepare yourself. and take caution for that. But if they don't respond, then you're going to go to the opposite nostril and give a second dose. At some point, if they don't respond, you're going to start initiating CPR. So in that packet is a quick CPR guide. And recently, the American Heart Association added, they update their guidelines every 5 years, and they recently just added that algorithm into their guidelines as well. If they do respond, you want to turn them on the left side, which is the recovery position, because it helps keep the airway open.
Wow, that's some good stuff. Good
Sure
stuff.
is.
Now, are there any myths that you can dispel about Narcan?
I'm not going to just say myths, but more misconceptions. People think that if they know it's a known drug abuser, and I've heard this one a lot, and they know maybe they've ingested a substance, they'll try like going after them while they're obviously awake, and that's not what it's for. Not because the person's on a substance or a drug. This substance is going to reverse the effect of the drugs. That would be given to the person that is unresponsive,
Right.
barely breathing, having agonal breathing.
Right, so it's designed to work when a person is in a state of being
Exactly.
non-responsive.
Yes.
Okay.
Other misconceptions is I personally haven't heard any really misconceptions, just not knowing how to use it or how easy it is to use it, or thinking that you can only use it on a certain person or it's going to hurt somebody if they
Yeah.
didn't. And all those things are false, because there is no age restrictions on
No
it.
culture,
No culture,
no race.
no. If you gave it to somebody and they didn't have an opioid in their system, it's not going to hurt them. If they did have an opioid in their system, hopefully it's going to help them. There's a half-life, but that's like getting a little bit too deep off into it, but it's only going to last for a certain amount of time. So, of course, you still want to call 911. What I can say, a misconception that, not about the Narcan itself, but a lot of times people fear that they will be get in trouble if they, call 911 and say that someone's overdosing or somebody's overdosed around them. So a lot of times people weren't calling the police. In 2016, they passed, the Good Samaritan law. Like, if you call 911, if you're around someone and they overdose, you're not going to get in trouble. Of course, the police would seize the drugs if there was drugs around, but they did pass that in 2016. I think that might be one of the bigger conceptions.
So they would not, with this law, they wouldn't apprehend the person that was going through the overdose, as well as the person that called 911 to report an overdose.
Right. They would not. So the fear is that I wouldn't want, if we were doing drugs together, or the people were doing drugs together and somebody overdosed, they would not call 911 because they would be a fear that, hey, we're doing something wrong,
Yeah,
that
they
we
could both go to
shouldn't.
jail.
Yes.
Right.
So one of our officers makes it well known, especially in the community and in the schools, that law has been passed to encourage people to call 911.
Oh, yeah, that's good. And Narcan is now accessible not just in Oakland County. You can get that training in Wayne County also. So you travel around to give those trainings also, or does someone have to come to you?
So, yes, it's more accessible. In Oakland County, we have 105, I believe, Save a Life stations, and we're going to be doing our 106th one. So I have a Narcan Save a Life station outside of my building at 91 North Saginaw in Pontiac. But also, people do come to me, but I also travel to them as well. I've been to local churches. I've been to youth groups. I've been to just pretty much anything you can think of. Even my traveling with my CPR, I've taken the Narcan with me and educated the public on that. A couple years ago, it was very hard to get a hold of, and then when this first started coming out, they had vending machines. Well, they realized with vending machines, you need electricity, the doors are locked, most operations are 9 to 5, you need maintenance. So they have these boxes now that are like old newspaper stands. So you just pull it down and get whatever you need out of there, whether it's the Narcan, or if it's the fentanyl testing strips, or whether it's any of the information that are in these Save a Life stations. And then here in Wayne County, I know D-Win does a lot of the training.
Yeah.
There's also FAN, Families Against Narcotics. They have those boxes as well. So those have become pretty popular all throughout Michigan.
That's good.
So when you talk about, so you mentioned about like fentanyl, what are some of the other opioids? I mean, so like, are you talking about cannabis or marijuana? Are you talking about like heroin? Are you talking about cocaine, or what are some of the other?
So cannabis is not an opioid, but that doesn't mean that something can't be laced in the cannabis, right? I think, I don't think we've had any here in Michigan, but I think that a opioid or fentanyl can be laced in anything, whether it's a fake pill, whether it's a liquid, whether it's marijuana, whether it's a gummy. I think the way things are being reprocessed and redone and made over, it's possible that it could be in anything. So I also educate my participants that just because you purchase, weed is legal now. And I'm not saying this has happened, and hopefully it never will, but I'm just further ahead thinking that if you purchase weed or a gummy from a store, a dispensary, in their mind, they think they got it from the store. They didn't get it from off the street, so it's safe. My thing is, with these fentanyl testing strips, you can test anything at any time, so why not use advantage of the tools and resources we have and test everything? Because I get my meat from the grocery store, right? I get salad from the grocery store. How many times have those things been
Right,
recalled? So
right.
I feel like nothing's safe, but it's just, and cocaine you asked too, that is not a opioid. But heroin is an opioid, and most pain medications are opioids, and the fentanyl is an opioid.
So are you thinking like what type of drug does this help with?
It's only
Or
for
is it
opioid.
only for opioids?
Yeah.
Because
So it has to have the
I guess the
opioid in
question,
there.
because I mean my background is biology, but I just want the average layperson to hear, what is the definition of an opioid?
The definition of an opioid?
Right.
So it is.
I mean, I have to get the exacting definition,
Right.
but I'm just saying, because it's like the average person may not know, like, what an opioid is, compared to, say, looking at cocaine, heroin, or, and then the other question I just want to ask you, too, related to that, is, are there differences in the way that somebody may overdose on those different, like an opioid versus like a marijuana or something else?
So you really don't see someone overdosing on marijuana unless it's been laced with an opioid. Opioid is just the drug classification of the drug as a derivative from the opioid plant. So to tell you like what all is classified under there, I'm not saying I don't know, but I'm a little stumped right now. But there's different classifications of drugs. So it would be your pain medications, your OxyContin, your oxycodones, your fentanyl, things like that.
So there are most common ones that
Yes.
we would hear about.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is that, so kind of describe, because I guess I just want the average person to know, if they see somebody, they'll know maybe the difference between somebody who might be having a stroke, a heart attack, or might have some type of, of going through an overdose.
So when you come on somebody, the first thing you're going to do is you're always going to assess. Well, you always want to assess the scene for safety, right? Because you don't know what's going on. You don't know what caused that person to be down. So if you see someone unresponsive, you always want to assess the scene for safety. Once you find out that the scene is safe because you can't put yourself in danger, you're going to try to tap their shoulders and see if they're responding. So a person not responding, not breathing, you're going to check for like 5 to 10 seconds, no longer than 10 seconds, and then you're going to check for a pulse. If you don't find those things, then that's the person who needs CPR. So that's just outright. You can't have a pulse, be breathing, or be responding.
That's good. You know
That's
what?
CPR right there.
You just really made it very clear. So,
Right.
like, if you've had training with Narcan and then you come across someone like that, don't just get your Narcan out talking about I'm about to.
Yeah, that's and that's the point I'm saying, because every second matters.
Every second does matter. So that would be the person that needs CPR. Now, a person overdosing is going to be pretty close to that, depending on how long they've been unresponsive, right? So that's why it's been added to the new guidelines. That's why if you have it on hand and was able to use it, you could use it. And if they didn't respond, then it probably wasn't a opioid that was the reason they were unresponsive. Now, for a stroke, they're still going to have a pulse. They're still going to be breathing. They might be unresponsive or a little incoherent. So there's determining factors on all those different things on what you would look for. What you would see with a person overdosing is pinpointed pupils, more of a breathing, but more of a growl to the breathing. We call it agonal breathing or gasping for
You say
breath.
a growler?
Yeah, kind
to
of
the
like a,
Okay.
it's like a distinguished sound that you would hear. They're very struggling to breathe because they're on their last breaths, because the side effect of any opioid is decreased respirations, and that's why they overdose, is because the respirations decrease to the point where they stop.
That's why it's so important. Like when you see a person like you coming around, whether it's at your school, at your job, or church, you want to sign up. Because something as simple as paying attention to somebody's breathing, you want to know what's happening, so that you can call 911 quickly, but also know some of the procedures and things that you
So
can
like
do.
in our first aid class that I teach, there's multiple different things. Just because a person is unresponsive doesn't mean they overdose, right? Their blood sugar could have dropped. You want to look at different things like that to the point where they became unresponsive that way.
You're supposed to be giving somebody candy or something, and you got your Narcan.
Right.
So what I try to go over in a lot of my classes is the different things that you can do, because you're not the doctor, you're not the nurse, you're not the emergency room. First aid is you're the first person aiding them until help arrives. And a lot of times you're not going to have the medical necessities that you would need to do anything to save them 100%, right? But you're going to keep them until the EMS arrives.
Yeah.
Because, that's the thing that you see a lot of young people that are saving their parents or saving classmates' lives
Yes. Oh,
because
yeah.
they've been trained,
Oh, yeah.
in something like that.
And then some haven't been trained, because before all this training, we've seen those stories where, the young child called 911
Yes.
or the young child got, something that they did. But it's so good to have these types of trainings. But I can see you, Darwin, ready to help somebody, ready to do CPR. Now, do you know that CPR, where they tell you, what is it, staying alive?
Right.
What that acronym kind of stands for in terms, say, with the...
No, Darwin, it's a song. Like, you got to know the rhythm of that.
Oh.
So you got to know the song in order to do it.
It's a fun, catchy tune, but being a registered nurse, I can promise you I've never sang Staying Alive.
I mean, but who thinks of that?
You don't.
When you're...
Yeah, 100% absolutely do not think of that. But I know that's the public's way of thinking of it, so I would never, try to downplay that. But when it happens, you literally go into fight or flight mode, and you get the strength out of nowhere, because you have to think about it.
You got to do everything you can, because you want to help that
person, right? You have to think about it. Their heart is located behind their sternum, so you have to go 2 inches deep to even get to the heart. So that's like the size of a credit card sideways. You want to think of it like that. So getting that strength and singing "Staying Alive" probably is not going to happen at the same time.
Yeah, and then think about being off beat.
Right.
If you're trying to keep the beat, you're going to be off beat, because your mind is really going to be ready to
Absolutely
try to do what you can.
Well, and that's the thing that I was just curious about, because I know we got to take a break in a minute. But, when you look at a person's heart, when you look at a person's breathing, when you look at their respiration, there's so many things that are going on that the average layperson doesn't know what's happening,
exactly.
to someone. But I guess the question I want to ask, are there any telltale signs that you can look at a person and tell some things about their health?
So me, if I look at a person, I'm in the grocery store looking at people, I can tell all different types of things. But if you're asking it more into if they need medical attention, okay. So like I said, it's not breathing, not responding, and no pulse. They definitely 100% need CPR.
Well, he over here choking. Like, what's
He-
going
Well, you
on?
know,
Like,
and I'm-
can we help him real quick?
And I'm sitting up here and I'm saying to myself, it's like, man,
He's okay because
You
he's
know.
talking and,
and coherent
and, he's, and, he's, cho-
able
and
to.
he's coughing.
And that's the thing that I was thinking about, because it's like here, it's funny because a lot of times when we do the show, we sometimes take a break, and when we take a break, it's like, oh, okay, well, fine, they can go and run, pop some mints, or run, and drink some water, or things like that. But the question I just wanted to ask you too is that when we talk about the heart and the heart care, because I know that's something that's coming up next month when it comes down to
February.
heart health. But let's kind of set the stage a little bit for that. So talk about the importance of like heart care that people should really be thinking about.
Okay, so with February being National Heart Month and February 7th being National Go Red Day, I find that very important. My father did die of a heart attack. What people can do is become educated. Any trainings they have, anytime you have free offerings of training, get as much information as you can. Being brown or black puts you at a higher risk for heart disease, so knowing that, getting a primary care doctor is essential. A lot of times people don't go to the doctors, they go to the ER when a problem persists, instead of having a relationship with their doctor and doing follow-up so that the doctor has a guideline of these numbers may be off. We haven't did this test, really monitoring their health. What they'll do is wait and go to the ER and then say the ER didn't do anything, when in all actuality, a ER is there for you for emergency care only. So they're going to refer you to a doctor.
Right back to your doctor.
First and foremost, I'm going to say diet, exercise, eating right, having a primary care doctor that you have a relationship with so that you can get the testing, get the screening. They can be monitoring your blood pressure. They can be monitoring your weight. Being overweight is also putting you at a risk. Smoking,
Higher risk, yeah.
alcohol use are going to put you at a higher risk too. So I would say the first most important thing that someone could do is to have a relationship with a doctor. And if you don't like that doctor, there's millions of others that you can establish a relationship with. You don't have to be stuck with one doctor. And what was your other question?
That's really important that you bring that up, because, like you said, February is the month that it's highlighted, but it's like a kickstart. At the beginning of the year, everybody make those
New Year's
resolutions about their health. But by February, are we still keeping those resolutions? Is it difficult for people? And
it is, right? Because we're all excited because it's the beginning of the year, new me. I've done, this will be my second time doing our annual Healthy Heart Workshop in correlation with Go Red Day. The city of Pontiac did adopt Go Red Day. With my Healthy Heart Workshop, I do a screening with them. It's nothing too much, just about 8 questions on there so that they know where they fall, if they're even at risk. And some of those things we talked about, not having a proper diet, not having proper exercise, being overweight, being black or brown is going to put them at a higher risk. And then making a goal. We do a heart pledge at the end of the Healthy Heart Workshop. This year I'm excited. We have a lot more people coming out. We have Gary Bernstein. We have Oakland County Health Department. We have a home care agency. We have Honor Community Health. We have a lot of people coming out to that event.
wow, that's good. It sounds like we need to sign up for something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we got to take a quick break because Henry is letting us know that we got to take a quick break. So we will be right back with Miss Chats and Chuckles, Kimberly Clemens, and our nurse who's educating us on so many different topics when it comes to our healthy well-being, Ms. Denise Harris. We'll be right back.
Feel good about your future with tuition-free programs at Wayne County Community College District. Whether you want to be in healthcare, computer science, the culinary arts, digital media, or robotics and automation for the next generation of vehicles, WCCCD has you covered. A full range of programs to achieve your goals, fit your schedule, and give you all the support you need to be successful. All of it tuition-free. Now there's something to feel good about. Register today at wcccd.edu.
Every Monday through Friday from 12 noon to 3 p.m., it's the Tavis Smiley Show on WHPR TV and radio 15.2. Also seen on Roku, Fire Stick, Apple TV, iPhone, and Android. That's the Tavis Smiley Show on WHPR TV and radio. Download the WHPR TV app for iOS, Android, and Roku. The Tavis Smiley Show, distributed by RJ Watkins Studios.
Clean up on aisle 5. Sounds like my life right now. Just one big mess.
What's going on?
It's my property taxes.
What?
I am behind and I am so worried that I'm gonna lose my house. I can pay some of it, but I can't pay it all at once.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm Eric Sabri, the Wayne County Treasurer. The last thing I want is for anyone to lose their property to tax foreclosure. We have assistance programs to help.
For more information, go to treasurer.waynecounty.com.
We're here to help.
Justice for Mario Willis. Truth. Facts. Evidence. Mattered. Log into justiceformariowillis.com. Read for yourself.
All media platforms are engaged. Copy.
Get ready to launch your show or product.
Periscope ready. We're 5x5 ready to launch. Copy that.
Trend worldwide across all major platforms.
Ignition. 3, 2, 1.
The world is waiting. Watkins Broadcasting. More than just TV.
Block time is available. Get yours. Call 313-868-6612. That's 313-868-6612. Executive producer RJ Watkins. Program director Henry Tyler. 107.5 FM. WGPR HD3. RadioWeCanSee.com.
And welcome back. You are watching a special edition of Truth to Power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, along with my comrade at arms, and that is Miss Chats and Chuckles, Kimberly Clemens, and the person who everybody in Oakland County needs to know, if they don't know already, and that is Denise Harris. But again, you know, we have been talking about heart care, about safety, about healthy eating, diet, and just making certain that you take care of yourself as well as taking care of other people, you know, that you come in contact with. But before we went to break, we got a chance to just kind of talk a little bit about health care and when it comes to a person's health and their heart. And let's talk more about, because you said that February the 7th?
Yes, February 7th is National Go Red Day. I don't think a lot of people even know what exactly that means, right? They just know that people are wearing red and they want to join in on it. But the reason why there is National Go Red Day is because research shows us that women who are experiencing heart-related incidences or heart attacks are less likely to be diagnosed before a man, or that they're going to be underdiagnosed, or they're going to be misdiagnosed. So because of that research, back a few years, they decided to bring awareness to it, and that's where the Go Red Day comes in. You see the little women with the little red dress. So it's more for educational purposes. So that is why on February 7th, this will be my second annual Healthy Heart Go Red Day for the city of Pontiac at Antioch Missionary Baptist Church.
So that means every woman in your life, you need to let them know about Go Red Day.
And that's so interesting because people need to really be aware of, like, a heart attack can be the silent killer, with a lot of folks.
Correct. So a lot of people don't know that there's a difference between a heart attack and sudden cardiac arrest. A heart attack we think of kind of like as our plumbing system. You could have had a heart attack, things slow down, things back up. Sudden cardiac arrest means it's happening right now. So I teach that as like the electricity, right? Lights off, everything's off, no, not breathing, no pulse, not responding. When we do testing, I kind of let them, know the difference, but they use it so interchangeably. But you could have had a heart attack and it doesn't show up till you get your yearly EKG or something like that. You could have worked through those issues and had a silent, as people say, or a mild heart attack and not even know it. But sudden cardiac arrest means it's happening right now. You don't have that pulse. You're not breathing and you're not responding.
So heart attack, you may have an opportunity to dial 911.
Correct.
But sudden cardiac arrest,
you're not going to.
There's nothing that you can do. Hopefully somebody's
else,
around.
Yes, and that's why it's important for everyone to know CPR, because over 350,000 heart attacks, sudden cardiac arrests happen outside of a hospital each year, and it's outside of the hospital that the people are not trained. Your family members, your coworkers, your co-host, whoever you may be around for that day, those are the people that need to be trained.
Now, are you trained? Okay, so when we know that we're trained, how difficult is it to go into an organization to say, hey, let's get your people trained?
I guess that would depend on your organization because a lot of people don't look at it like it's a necessity, right? They think it's just for the healthcare, it's just for a certain quota of people, and it's not. I see it's easier when the organizational leader is well diverse in multiple things, and they know that it can happen to any of their employees, any of their participants, any of their customers at any time. And those organizations are the ones that are reaching out to get trained.
Yeah, because your organization has gone into different, like a church. You've gone into different churches.
Absolutely.
You're
yes.
in schools.
I'm in schools. With the schools, I do more prevention work, but I push the heart health aspect on the prevention work. But I go into churches. I went places anywhere from organizing politics, the organizers that are out there in the field, to churches, to daycares. Daycares is my big one. To GM, to Chrysler. I've been all over. Construction workers, nursing students come to me a lot. Lifeguards, people that work at the gym, coaches, youth and recreation staff have came to me to be trained. So I can't just say I train a certain aspect.
Genre, yeah.
Yes, so it's anyone.
That is so good to know, because you think about, we know people that, work at the schools, work at the plants, work at different, youth and recs. So to know that these places are opening their doors for this training, it really does. I think it makes a difference.
And that's a good thing, to make certain that, they do have, that type of training, like that. And I think the other thing is that when you see, especially like the school personnel, like you mentioned about like the coaches, the gym teachers, because if you're, in gym and you're doing all the strenuous exercises, running laps and things like that, there's a lot of things that could be happening, to that student that's going through that. And then like you said about coaches, when the person's on the football field or on the basketball court, you never know what can happen. Because I think about players that have their physicals, before they go and they're, they come on the, on the court or on the football field, and sometimes they have things that happen that they may have missed, when they give them the physical. And that's really critical, especially for a lot of our student athletes.
Absolutely. Facebook memories pop up, and I think it was 2 days ago, the whole, I'm probably going to mess up the name, Damar Hamlin.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me, so I'm not saying
the
right.
football player.
That just happened
like
2, maybe 3 years ago. You just never know. Yesterday, I seen where 11-year-old passed out at her school and went into cardiac arrest. So you usually don't see children going to cardiac arrest. There's usually an underlying reason that has went untreated. But just thinking that it can't happen to me, or I'm too young, or we don't need that here at our organization. Everybody needs to be CPR trained.
Now, is there a fee to have your organization come into, like a church or a gym?
So yes, there is a fee, and it depends on what package you choose. Do you want the first aid with it? Also, I do group discounts. I do nonprofit discounts. Because I am a for-profit, I eventually want to become a nonprofit, so I could use grant money to be able to get them trained. And sometimes I'll run specials. I'll do free classes with my Stop the Bleed and the Narcan. That's absolutely free.
Oh, wonderful.
Now, I know before we wrap up today, I know you had talked to Kimberly and I, and you were talking about active shooter training. And I know that's something that's been real critical, lately, because, we were talking to some people the other day and talking about the incident that happened at Romulus High School, at the middle school, where the person was outside with a gun. And if that person had got inside, that's where the active shooter, training would have been really necessary for people to have. And then the church, where you had the church, in Wayne, that had that same situation
Absolutely.
to happen, as well as the church out there in I think it was in Grand Blanc.
Absolutely.
Out there in the, in that area. But talk about a little bit, Denise, about the active shooter training that you provide.
And you know what? Kudos to Romulus
for not letting
those doors were locked.
Exactly.
Yes.
The staff, like you just think about those little things that schools do to help keep the staff and those students, stay safe. So kudos to them.
Absolutely.
Because those kids stayed safe that day.
Because we call that situational awareness. She was aware of what was going on in her surroundings. So a lot of times, some of the clues are right there in our face, and we don't realize it. Sometimes they're not. So the course that I teach is called Active Violence Immediate Response Training. It's a little different than ALICE. This program is movie-based. You're kind of watching a movie per se, and things are going on in this movie, but you're learning at the same time. I teach you how to use a tourniquet. At some point in my training, I let you know that you will hear gunshots. I time you and I tell you to stand up once you heard the gunshot, and you put the tourniquet on whatever limb, because it'll say right arm, left arm, and you're putting those on, right? And some people are clueless. They're not even paying attention. They're putting it on the wrong body part. They don't even realize what's happening until they see everybody else standing up. So recording them from the beginning of the class until the end, when they're taking like 2 and 3 minutes, and now they're able to put this tourniquet on themselves in 30 seconds is amazing.
How many people can be in a class at one time?
I've done as many as 25 people in a class. A good class is about 12. 12 to 15, because that way we do actually the training, we do the situational awareness, we do how to respond if you're face to face with the shooter, and then we actually do an exercise where we're in a room and the shooter's on the opposite side. Different things that we could do if they were to come through that door, and that would be like putting an obstacle in front of it. A shooter's not gonna think about coming to a table tipped upside down, and not hiding under a table. But being right there, using distractions to maybe throw at them to get them off of guard. And this one's like you're face to face. We actually are disarming the shooter as well.
Now, what age do you do that training with?
So this is
start?
usually adults. I would say that I let the schools kind of do the ALIS thing. I haven't really publicized to the school, but my other thought process on that would be you would want parents and children to have the same training. But I know with a lot of schools, they're teaching them something. It's the parents and other people not inside the schools that would probably need this training. So I would say, just like with my CPR, I think 11, 12 years old is a good time to learn.
You know, and I want to ask you a question. I want to kind of double back to that because you hear a lot of conversation now where people are talking about there needs to be somebody in the school that carries a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And you, Kimberly, being a police chaplain, and Denise, you actually teaching the classes about active shooter. Any thoughts on that? As to whether or not if teachers should carry, in the school, or if there should be somebody in the school that carries.
You gonna say, chaplain? Yes, chaplain for DPD. Very, very proud. So if I'm a chaplain, I'm praying. That's what I'm doing.
But we don't want you to be praying after the fact as much as to be kind of be more preventive. Well, hopefully,
preventing, right?
But we're also trying to kind of do a little bit of preventative, type measures, so just in case. But let me get your thoughts.
I don't think a teacher should be carrying, but I know there's more and more security staff that are now armed, and I'm seeing them when I'm going in the schools. I don't know if that's a taser gun. I don't know the rules or regulations or law around that, but I do see there's at least one armed person most of the time.
Well, I think too, if that is something that would bring some safety, I think it would take some extensive training.
Yes,
because there's a thin line that you're dealing with, some hostile situation that's a threat, whether it's on the outside or that that person, that threat is trying to get inside. There's a thin line that you're having a bad day. And you got a irate student that's trying to put their hands on you. Now you got another situation that you're adding to that school. So I don't necessarily know if that's a great thing or not. We just want people to stay safe. We want the kids to be safe. We want the staff to be safe. Bringing an armed person in there, that would really have to be some extensive training, I would think.
Yeah, and that's something, because we're going to bring Roy McAllister on in our next hour, who was he was a former police investigator, with the police department, and maybe we can kind of talk a little bit more about that part, at the same time. But Denise, I just want to ask you, because I don't want to wrap this segment up, is there anything else that you do that you would like to address or talk about before we wrap up? Because, like I said, when we were talking to Jackie Kelly, the other day, and I know she's got an event coming up on the 28th of next month that she wants you to be a participant and have a booth there, to talk about all the things that you do. But is there anything else that you do that you'd like to educate our viewing and listening audience about?
So I also do a bloodborne pathogens class. A lot of your medical carriers, that's the big buzz out here. People are trying to do that. I do the OSHA 10 and 20 general and construction training. That's an online course. I talked a little bit about the child and babysitting safety course that I offer. Also do prevention work in the school. So that's under the Alliance Coalition of Healthy Communities with Pontiac Community Foundation. I go into the schools to talk about vaping, underage drinking, prescription drug use, and different things like that. We do a nurse class. We do a big feelings class, as per se, teaching the kids how to, regulate their feelings. So I'm in the middle school, the high school, and a couple of the elementary schools doing that work as well.
Wow, that's amazing. You really are helping a lot of people.
Thank you.
And let's, since you talked about it too, let's talk about vaping. Tell our audience, what is vaping?
So vaping is when you use what's called an ENDS device.
Say called a what now?
An ENDS device. Okay. So So more commonly, the look on your face, like your breezes, different things like those, right? So it's electronic cigarette per se, right? A lot of the misconception with that is that you think you're just vaping in or breathing in flavored air, but you're not. So when we go into the schools, we have a gentleman that goes in. He's excellent in it and teaches the kids. He does like a Jeopardy game with them, and it teaches them, the things that are in the vapes, the formaldehyde that people don't know, the
Stuff that's killing your
lungs. Yeah, it's just he'll do a picture of tires, hairspray, aerosol, and kind of do this game with them and now say, what do all these things have in common, right? And they're like, I don't know, and they come to find out they have absolutely no idea that they're not just breathing in this flavored air, that there is metals, there is chemicals, there's so many different chemicals inside of those vape pens.
I remember the government spent a lot of money on the Just Say No campaign. Mm-hmm. So I wonder what's out there now for all of these types of things for our youth.
So actually, just like a lot of preventative messaging, they do a lot of positive community norming. What everybody else is doing is not what you have to be doing. And to be quite honest, the amount of people that you think is doing it is really not. So we're trying to reintroduce positive community norms. Mm-hmm. But what you saying the government doing the Just Say No, like kind of back the DARE program when we were younger, right? The Alliance is pretty much doing those things in the schools. There's 21 communities, and they're under that umbrella. So in Oakland County, I can speak for Oakland County, that's what we're doing. We all have our own coalition for each city, and we're all going into the schools. But what the tobacco industry is doing is they're trying to make it they're targeting our kids, the fruit, the comparing like the cartoon characters, the different things like that, and making
using
these
those
things to target our youth. Back in the day, they like the Virginia Slim days, or our magazine covers looked a whole lot different than how they're promoting nicotine use now.
Yeah, they use the things that will draw the youth.
Yes,
to advertise, and then it
like gummy bears.
Yeah, and it is the youth that are going out there trying those things.
And see, it's so sad because we gotta wrap the segment up. But it's so sad because when you go into like the gas stations or in the stores, they have those point of purchase, places right there. When you go to pay for your purchase, mm-hmm. you see the
signage.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that, we've got to really kind of watch for, because a lot of the law enforcement people are sending underage persons to go and see, and sometimes they need to shut some of these places down because mm-hmm. they will sell to underage, mm-hmm. Ladies and gentlemen. So we got to make sure that we keep people safe. Give your contact information one more time before we wrap up.
So my contact information is Denise Harris. My number is 248-778-7161. I am located at 91 North Saginaw, Suite M206 in Pontiac. You can find me on Facebook at Healing Heart Safety Services or on Instagram at Healing Hearts.
We have been pleasingly pleasured to have had you here on the show with us today. So we look forward to having you back to talk more about Healthy Health Heart Month next, in February, and make certain that you get the pins that have those little red dresses, on them. But again, we've been, pleased to have had an opportunity to talk about our health and our well-being with Nurse Denise Harris. So we look forward to having you back on again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, we're going to take a break, and we will be right back with none other than Roy McAllister Jr., and stay tuned.
Clean up on aisle 5. Sounds like my life right now. Just one big mess.
What's going on?
It's my property taxes.
What?
I am behind, and I am so worried that I'm going to lose my house. I can pay some of it, but I can't pay it all at once.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm Eric Sabri, the Wayne County Treasurer. The last thing I want is for anyone to lose their property to tax foreclosure. We have assistance programs to help.
For more information, go to treasurer.waynecounty.com.
We're here to help.
From the desk of R.J. Watkins, This is a WHPR editorial.
I'm Ariana Watkins, and for decades, my father, R.J. Watkins, has served our community with quality radio and TV service through WHPR and Roku. Today, I'm proud to stand beside him, continuing the legacy built on trust, innovation, and your support. We're here because of you, and we'll keep bringing you the best now and for generations to come. Thank you for supporting us and growing with us.
This has been a WHPR editorial.
Justice for Mario Willis. Truth. Facts. Evidence. Mattered. Log into justiceformariowillis.com. Read for yourself.
WGPR Detroit HD3.
You're watching WHPS, Highland Park, Detroit. Watkins Broadcasting is going worldwide. Now you can watch Detroit's own WHPR on your TV from anywhere in the world. No matter where you are, you can stay in the know with WHPR TV and Roku. You can get your easy-to-install Roku box from wherever you shop for your entertainment gear. Once your Roku box is connected to your TV and internet, go to the channel store on the home menu of the Roku box. Enter WHPR TV in the search engine and add it to your channels. That's it. That's all you need to get the best in entertainment, news, and talk, no matter where you are. Roku brings all of your favorites to your TV. Netflix, Hulu Plus, Crackle, HBO Go, and now WHPR TV, Detroit Live.
And welcome back. You are listening to a very, very special edition that we're having today we just got wrapped up with Nurse Denise Harris, where we talked about our safety and our well-being, and to make certain that you also are aware that next month is Health Care Month and Heart Care Month. So you want to make sure you take care of yourself. But we're very, very fortunate to have had Nurse Denise Harris to come on and talk about that. And also, too, you've got her information. So please, if you need to get more details about it, you can contact us at the station, or you can contact Denise Harris personally, who can give you more details about what she does and all of the services that she provides in Oakland County, and hopefully more in the Wayne County as well as in Macomb County as well, too. But right now, we're going to be joined by none other than Roy McAllister Jr., and I don't think that there's anybody in Detroit that doesn't know who Roy McAllister Jr. is. If there is, I think that they may need to come back, and maybe we might have to kind of go and let them know, hey, Roy McAllister's the man. You know, he's the man. He's the person that folks know. They always have to make sure they come dressed correct. I always wear my black suit when I see Roy. You know, I just have to make sure that black goes with everything. So, you know. And then we're also joined by Miss Chats and Chuckles, Kimberly Clemens. And those of you that know, Kimberly Clemens hosts a great TV show here at WHPR.
Thank you.
And it comes on every Tuesday from 10 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock. So again, you don't want to miss. And she's had some great guests on her show. And if you'd like to be a guest on her show, make sure, Kimberly, I'm going to let you give your contact information.
Come on, Darwin. I love it.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. So like Darwin said, I am Kimberly Clemens. I bring life to the chatter that matter. So you can reach me and give me some time. You come on my show from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. on Tuesdays. You can contact me at 734-286-5979. You also can email me. I am the email is actually Kimberly@chatsandchuckles.com.
There you go. There we go. So you don't want to miss Chats and Chuckles. I'm going to give her another shameless plug. Every Tuesday here at WHPR TV from 10 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock in the morning. You don't want to miss. And also, too, if you'd like to be a guest, as she gave you her contact information, please talk to her if you want to advertise on her show as well, or you'd like to be a sponsor for her show.
Come
please
on, Darwin.
make sure that you get in contact with Chats and Chuckles, none other than Kimberly Clemens.
That's me, y'all.
Okay. Now we've given enough, about
right now
about
we can go to
Kimberly
commercial
Clemens.
break now.
Right. We're joined here too because I don't want Roy McAllister Jr. to feel like, okay, well, what about me now? But Roy McAllister, thank you for coming on the show with us today.
It's an honor and pleasure to be here with you and with Miss Clemens. I also know as Chaplain Clemens, but it is an honor and a pleasure to be here today. And Happy New Year to everybody. And hopefully we're starting off new and have a blessing. Although we're going to get into some things that we've already started off kind of on the wrong foot.
Yeah, this has been an interesting beginning of 2026.
Yes, sir.
We know that there's been a lot that's going on, not just here in the state of Michigan, but also here in the United States,
yes, sir,
as well as in the world, right now, because, there was the apprehension of a president of
Maduro,
a foreign country in Venezuela, and he and his wife were apprehended.
Yes, sir.
And there's a lot of conversation about whether or not if he should have been, and the method that was used to apprehend him,
yes, sir,
and then the purpose of why he was apprehended. When it talks about the natural resources that we all are known to utilize, and that's oil.
Yes, sir.
And then the other thing is that there have been talk about detention centers, the ICE detention centers here, and one in particular here in the city of Highland Park, yes, where WHPR is located at.
Yes.
And then the other part, when speaking about ICE, is that there was a shooting and a young lady, Renee Good, was killed in the great state of Minnesota and the city of Minneapolis,
yes, sir,
the other day. And there's a lot of conversation pertaining to why she was shot and killed, as well as the reason for why there was a raid and why she was detained in the beginning before she was shot and killed.
Right.
But Roy, I know we're going to kind of talk a little bit more because I know you've done a lot of research on Renee Good and knowing a little bit more about that. I mean, you were an investigator with the police department,
yes, sir,
here in Detroit. So, Roy, without further ado, let's hear what you see in terms of, say, about what happened, kind of educate our viewing audience about what happened, yes, to Renee Good, what led up to it, and then how some things were done that could have been done differently, where a life could have still been in existence here, that didn't have to be taken unnecessarily.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for that. Yes, as an investigator with the Detroit Police Department, both for the Internal Affairs section and for Detroit Homicide, I was commanding officer of Detroit Homicide. We investigated, all police shootings, and it didn't matter whether there was local, state, or federal. we were involved with the investigation, which is one of the problems that the powers that be, the mayor of Minneapolis, as well as the governor of Minnesota, is having problems with, because they are not included in the investigation. The FBI is just taking over the investigation totally. And, you know, even when, like I said, we had federal shootings, and we would go in collaboration with, they could be involved with the investigation, but the fact of the matter is that we were the investigators. Now, there were times where we had incidents where they would come in and try to take control, but the fact of the matter is, it is the jurisdiction, unless there was something that was circumstantial where another source, like the state police or the county, would get involved with it. But for the most part, it is, you know, again, as an investigator, both with internal affairs and with Detroit homicide, you know, we would look into those shootings. Now, the fact of the matter is that a lot of people are not speaking, and then I did the research not only on Renee Nicole Good, but also the ICE agent who shot her, which was 43-year-old Jonathan Ross, and he's been with ICE since 2015, but he was started with the Border Patrol in 2007. 2003, 2004, he was in Iraq through the Indiana National Guard. 2004, 2005, he was with the International Guard. And, you know, one of the things that I looked at, I mean, there's just so much that I have not only looked at, but also researched as far as what went on. And when you talk about it, we also have to look at 6 months ago, Agent Ross was dragged through another investigation, and he
saw that.
Right, and he utilized his taser. And so I've been researching, and I have not seen any results of any type of psychiatric evaluation or emotional evaluation after that incident, because his arm was injured. I think he took about 20 stitches in that arm, and that's an emotional trauma. And now to go back and to deal with something like this, I have to believe that it sprang back to 6 months ago. What happened to him? So therefore, rather than pulling out his taser, now he's pulling out his firearm.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, we are always taught in law enforcement, and for a multitude of law enforcement agencies, is that when a person is fleeing, unless it is something that you're looking at where they're going to be a threat to society, then there is no reason to use deadly force or fire. And normally we were always taught, you do not fire at a moving vehicle. And that's the other thing. And, you know, leading up to it, you know, looking at it, we don't know what the conversation was, because evidently there was a conversation because her window was down. The ICE agent started approaching her, and, you know, so there was no body camera to hear or find out. So the other thing that we look at is, was she leaving for fear of her life or safety? We have to also look at that. And then you also look at what we call is, you do not place yourself in the line of a target or a threat. And, you know, with Agent Ross placing himself in front of that vehicle, you actually place yourself, because if you look at it, she wasn't going at anybody. She was trying to turn to get away. And so those are the issues that we have to look at. The other issue is that looking at this, you're also looking at, you had his other agents that was in the line of fire when he was firing, because that bullet could have went through the window, ricochet, yes ma'am, and hit that agent that was at the door. You know, and the other issue is, neither one of the other agents actually pulled their weapons, so that they were even closer because they were in contact with the SUV. Therefore, they did not feel a threat. It was mainly like they was just going to either grab her and pull her out the vehicle or do whatever. But the fact of the matter is, I'm pretty sure they was probably trying to tell her, and I can only assess it, I don't know, tell her to get up out of there. And maybe there was some words said, and then now Eagles is involved and everything else, and now they want to approach her, and it's like, okay, we're going to show you. We told you to get out of here, now we're going to show you. And in that sense, she said, okay, I'm leaving, you know. And then that's what this happened. So
what did you find out, Roy, a little bit about Renee Good's background?
She was from Colorado. She was a graduate of let me see here. She was a graduate of Old Dominion University in Virginia. She graduated in 2020 with College of Arts and a letter of degree in English. She was a renowned guitarist in the area. She had 3 children. The 6-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 15-year-old. 12 and 15 were her 2 sons, and the 6-year-old, of course, was her daughter. And I understand that the 2 sons were living in Colorado with the extended family, and she was there with had her 6-year-old. Her husband passed away in 2023, and so therefore she was a widow. So these are the things that we're looking at, and it's just so trauma for these young kids now that now they've lost both their father, now their mother. So these are the things that we're looking at.
So was there anyone in the vehicle with her when she was
No,
detained?
no. There was no one else in the vehicle, not to knowledge. No.
And were there any body cams on any of the ICE agents?
No.
Because I know there was somebody that was outside the vehicle that was videotaping, and I think they were saying that they were fortunate that somebody did videotape, so they could get the different angles.
Yes, sir.
Boy, Kimberly, of how the tires were turned to the right instead of turning to the left, which could have ran one of the agents over, and put them in that harm's way. But I guess the question is that what was the reason for why she was stopped in the first place?
See, that's what's still up in the air, and because we don't know if she got stuck, if she was talking about, because some said she was there to pick up her child, we don't know, and she was just persistent. Look, I got to get my daughter or to get out of here, because you're talking about riot conditions, and so therefore we really don't know. But we also are looking at, again, we don't know because there was no body cam to find out what the conversation was, why they were telling her to get out, why she was there. Did she get stuck? Was she stuck for some reason or another? We just don't know. But the fact of the matter is that the deadly force should not have been utilized in that situation overall.
One of the questions that I had when I was watching it, you just made me remember when you say that you're not supposed to put yourself in front of a vehicle, right?
Right.
So when you think about once she got shot, once they shot at the vehicle, she obviously was shot. But then that vehicle rammed into another vehicle.
Yes, ma'am.
So I think about just us as citizens, how dangerous that is to be that, in that scenario.
Yes, ma'am.
But what can we do? Like as citizens, okay, I saw the part where the woman was videoing, right? I also heard one guy was saying, hey, I'm a doctor. Can I check her pulse? Can I help her?
Right.
And they were like, no.
Not only that, Ms. Clemens, they did not allow the EMS to come in there to look at her.
As well. Yeah.
So that's because they would say, well, we have medics. And you, like you said, you have a doctor that's out there that could attend it, and you have EMS that they blocked off from coming in. So again, what are the circumstances as to why that was?
So does ICE take precedence over your local police, over, how do they say, no, you can't help someone?
That's a very good question, because they're in the ICE immigration articles. There's an article called 287G, which means that ICE will have an agreement with either the administrative, legislative body and the police when they're coming in. None of this was taken in. And so therefore, like I said, going back to my days on the police department, when there was an investigation, and even when I worked at the Federal Defender's Office, if there was an investigation, the federal could come over and take over the investigation. But the fact of the matter is there is a discussion as to how and why, the circumstances as to them being the lead investigative force in that issue.
And a question I want to ask you too, Roy, is that from what I was reading too, they said that there were 3 shots fired.
Right.
And is that something that you as a police officer, is that, are you trained to? I mean, I think they said 1 shot even was into her head. So what was the necessity of the additional 2 shots is what I'm asking, because, she had rolled her window down to talk to whoever the ICE agent was.
Yes.
And, you could see in the video the ICE agent shooting,
Right.
Are law enforcement people trained to, to shoot that many times as opposed to just once, and that's what I'm really puzzled about. And that's what I think a lot of people that were reading the articles and saw the video, it was, asking that question.
Yeah, because, so even thinking with that, a person watching that would say, why not just shoot the tire, or why not, try to stop the vehicle versus killing the person, that's driving the vehicle.
There's several answers to what you both have asked. First of all, when you're pulling that trigger, you don't know how many times. It's just the adrenaline, I guess would say. And because a number of times when we investigate an officer, say, well, how many times did you shoot? And they'll say, I shot twice, but they actually emptied the weapon. They didn't know it because of that adrenaline, you pulling that trigger. That's the first thing. The second thing is, again, Agent Ross was not in he started off, but he was not in the line of the vehicle because it was turning right. So therefore, when he shot, he was on the side of the vehicle. When he shot the other 2 times, he was definitely on the side because he shot through the window. So again, we're looking at how all this is coming together, and the fact that, when you shoot, I was listening to what you stated about teachers in school in your last segment about teachers having weapons. And that's one of the things that when you train is that you have to understand, you have to maintain, which is very difficult, because when you're in an incident, and like you said, Ms. Clemens, that a person could have that bad day, and now you got this incident with this knucklehead kid who you might have had some issues with all the time. Now you got a weapon, and then this incident comes in, you're firing shots. You don't know how many shots you're going to be firing. And then again, it's also stated you never fire at a moving vehicle. And so therefore, because you don't know where those shots are going to go, and you don't know how those shots are going to hit, ricochet, again, one of his fellow agents was in that line of fire. He could have easily been hit, because this guy is focusing. Now, they say that Ross was also a trained gun range trainer, So, but the fact of the matter is, when you're training, you're focusing on that particular target. Anything else around you, you may not necessarily have in your vision. So that agent could have easily turned one kind of way and got shot himself.
And that's the thing that really gets me, because, there was the incident, I think, years ago where you had the person, I think it was a female, that had the choice between using her service revolver and using a taser. And she grabbed the service revolver
by
thinking
mistake.
She was getting the taser.
That's right.
And I know that, I've been in the courthouse this week for Ms. Willis' son,
yes, sir.
Who's going through an evidentiary hearing, and looking at some of the sheriffs down there at the facility. Some of them had the yellow, look like the tasers.
That's the taser.
And that's another question that I would have too, is that why couldn't this individual, have had a taser and could have tased her as opposed to shooting her?
Well, you remember in his first incident, in the incident in June 17, 2025, that's what he utilized. He utilized the taser. And when he was being drugged down the street, he was continuously trying to use the taser and telling the person that was driving the vehicle to stop. So again, it goes back to that mindset. Was like, is he now thinking, look, this taser ain't gonna work?
But see, I could not to cut you off. I could see that then if my life is being threatened,
right,
where somebody is dragging me down the street. I'm thinking not taser as much as I'm thinking probably like a service
revolver,
weapon,
a weapon, a handgun.
But now if somebody's coming up on me and I don't feel there's an imminent threat on my life or on one of my fellow, officers or, persons with me, I'm thinking the taser as opposed to, I just want to stop the person. I don't want to killed the person.
Two incidents with that. First of all, you're talking about a vehicle. That taser's not going to go through the vehicle. That's the first thing.
But the window was down.
But so you got to understand, he was in the front.
Yeah.
His weapon
it wouldn't even penetrated her because he was too far away from her.
He was in the front at first when he pulled his weapon. Now, he's not going to pull his weapon and then now she's going to the side and drop it and then pull out his taser. That action is going. But then you also have to understand in Dearborn Heights just a few days ago, there was a gentleman coming after the officers with a knife. And what did they do? They tased him, and it still did not stop him. So they wind up shooting him in the arm. So again, you looking at the circle, and you're absolutely right, Darwin. When the threat is coming and it's not that much, you say, well, I'm gonna use this taser. But then again, is this taser effective?
Right.
And so that's the other thing.
So help us understand, because I know a lot of people will watch, the news, and then from a perspective of someone that's not law enforcement, no training, right? Or watching a lot of TV. When we say things like, why don't they just shoot them in the arm or just shoot them in the foot? Why kill the person? So does that is that training?
Yes.
That it's okay to not shoot? And I'm not saying like somebody has a gun on you, but if we use the one with the knife, they shot him in the arm. He lived. He's going to, go through the justice system, right? So is that something that can happen every time, or is that just not realistic?
Because you're trained, aren't you, to like the what they call it, body mass or critical mass or something like that, where you're looking at a certain body part, like in the chest area, as opposed to in the shoulder or in the arm or in the leg or something like that. So we got to take a quick break. So we're gonna come right back to that question.
Okay.
We have got Chats and Chuckles, Miss Kimberly Clemens. We have Roy McAllister Jr. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and we'll be right back with this very special edition of Truth to Power.
Hey, I'm the new girl at WHPR, Kimberly Clemens, the host of Chats and Chuckles. Tune in on Tuesdays, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Chats and Chuckles. I am here to bring life to the chatter that matters.
From the desk of RJ Watkins, this is a WHPR editorial.
I'm Ariana Watkins, and for decades, my father, R.J. Watkins, has served our community with quality radio and TV, service through WHPR and Roku. Today, I'm proud to stand beside him, continuing the legacy built on trust, innovation, and your support. We're here because of you, and we'll keep bringing you the best now and for generations to come. Thank you for supporting us and growing with us.
This has been a WHPR editorial.
Hello? Can I speak to Sparkle?
You taught me that God forgives.
Wait a minute. You don't just walk up in my house. You gotta leave.
Hey, look, I just want to apologize how things went down tonight. We've been married for 2 years now, and lately, we ain't been the same.
People change, Jelly, and I don't want to do none of them things no more.
I didn't sign up for this Come to Jesus meeting when we got married, Lorraine. I got a card game tonight with the fellas, and after that, I'm leaving. I'll be out of town for a couple days for work.
So you want me to take him for everything?
I want you to take everything that ain't nailed to the ground.
I am so sick of you, Lorraine.
Jesus' name, oh God. We lift you up, oh God.
Can I have you running up in here, Jelly?
Let me catch you in the street.
Hold on. You better back up off my wife before I make you think I'm not a preacher, boy.
So you just gonna put me out of what I built?
I love you. Don't you see that?
You belong to me.
You brought him here. I love you. You belong to me.
This is a Mike Matthews production, promoted by R.J. Watkins Studio. Now on Tubi.
Good afternoon. We just had a few little technical difficulties, but we are back with Truth to Power. And we have Kimberly Clemens, Roy McAllister Jr. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin. So before we took this probably a little extended break, Roy, we were talking about a little bit pertaining to, the law enforcement personnel are trained to react in certain ways.
Yes, sir.
Can you elaborate more on that part?
Yeah, when the training that it had was you do not pull out your weapon. If you do, you're pulling out to kill. And Ms. Kimberly was saying, well, why not shoot him in the arm or shoot him in the leg? You're talking about a smaller target. You're talking about a mass. The mass is going to be larger. And that's what you're aiming for. As opposed to the arm, let's say you miss that arm, that bullet strays off and hits a child or somebody else.
Yeah.
You go to shoot him in the leg, that bullet ricochets and hits and goes and hits somebody else. So those are the things that they were saying, and that's why again they were saying you never shoot at a moving target. I mean a moving vehicle, because the vehicle, if it's going and you miss, where's that bullet? Because the bullet just goes. And those are the things that we have to look at. So again, it is, you're taught when you pull that weapon, you shoot to kill.
That's some heavy stuff.
It is.
That's some heavy stuff. That's why I said, police officers, law enforcement, extra special people.
Thank you.
You definitely have to, I say, be called to that.
And that's why we need you, because, a lot of officers, and this is a true fact, need prayer. Because after an incident like that, when you get involved, it takes a lot on you. It does. It takes a lot on you. And just like, Agent Ross, I'm pretty sure he's still thinking about when he was drugged down that street for 100 yards. And now I'm in the same situation, getting ready to get into the same situation. No, it's not gonna be the same.
And Roy, Kimberly, that's another thing too, because I know we were taking time and talking about this during our break, is that as you were telling us that after the shooting, the agent got into the vehicle with someone else and they drove off. And normally, when there is a shooting, that doesn't happen.
Right. When again, investigations, what happens is the supervisor will come to that officer that fired the weapon. They would take that officer's weapon, and then they would start speaking with that officer. Then the investigative unit would come in and start speaking with the officer. So for this officer,
what are they trying to determine when they speak to the officer?
What was your mindset? What happened? Why did you do it? How many times you fired? These are the questions, because now you're looking at the mindset. Because like I said, when you talk to a lot of officers, they will say, I fired 2 times when they emptied their weapon. They were just, the adrenaline was going so much.
And it depends on what's happening.
Exactly.
In that moment.
Exactly. And were you in fear? Again, that's heightening things up. So when you're looking at all this, it's like we're asking questions to find out what that officer's mindset was. Was the situation really that critical where you had to pull your weapon and fire? To those circumstances. Who else was threatened by this individual that you shot? Whether it be fatally or just injured. These are the things we're trying to find out. Was it justified? Who else was around? Yeah. So there's a number of questions, and see what happens is then you're taken down to the investigative unit. Like with Minneapolis, it would be the Force Investigative Unit. They would again, and that's why I believe that Mayor Frey is so upset, because his unit, you have to also understand, this incident happened a few blocks from where George Floyd was killed. And that's why the Force Investigating Unit was created. So now the mayor is upset because he wants to look at and make sure everything, all the I's is dotted, all the T's are crossed. And with not being involved with that, he's looking at this may not happen because you want to do a cover-up. Because, again, they identify Renee Good as a domestic terrorist.
And which are, that word alone would make you say, okay, what? Yeah. How is she a terrorist?
Right.
What was she doing
to cause this?
Yeah.
But when you look at it, you have to look at. We also have the incident of the people that were protesting. You have the right to protest. Okay? So, but therefore, now the incident has escalated to now you have a shooting. You also had 2 shootings in Portland, Oregon. You had a shooting in Chicago, again, through ICE. So when you're talking about you're trying to classify Renee Good as a domestic terrorist, now we're looking at ICE. You guys are terrorists. Because one of the things that the mayor of Minneapolis said, we've had 2 shootings. Half of those shootings came from ICE. So now, who is really the terrorist coming in here?
So may I ask a question? Because I'm thinking about, number one, you know, a lot of people who are not watching the news, you
Yes,
know,
ma'am.
they're not aware of what's happening.
Mhm.
But if you are aware, you know, what are some things that citizens can do to, you know, like I just think about if that was on my block.
Mm-hmm.
You know, would I be the person that's videoing to make sure that we have another angle, you know, to look at things? Am
Right.
I the person that's saying, hey, I can do CPR on this person. Can I help her?
Right.
Because it seems like ICE is not really into anybody getting involved if you're in that area. But so what are some things that you would recommend that we do as just lay citizens? You know, if we see something like that, you know, happening or going on.
I'll go back to a lot of when you talk to a lot of fathers and they're talking to their sons when they encounter police officers. What do? Make sure your hands your hands are seen. Make sure you don't do any further or movements that's going to be threatening. Yes, sir. Be polite. Don't say anything. It's the same thing. And it was good because, as you brought out, Darwin, that there were cameras that were out there that was taken by people from different angles.
Which is the same thing that happened with George Floyd.
Exactly. Had it not been, how would this thing have been twisted? Because when you remember, it took a while before George Floyd really came out.
Yeah.
So now, you know, you got people that are looking at this and they're video recording all these things and all these issues that's going down into what's happening.
And all those different angles
Exactly.
that they took.
Exactly.
You know, from the right side of the vehicle to the left side of the vehicle
Yes, sir.
to behind the vehicle.
Yes, sir.
So all those different angles matter, especially like the angle to see the tire, you know, the driver's side front tire.
Right.
Was it turned to the left, to the right, going straight?
Right.
And then just like you were saying too, Roy, that here after she got shot, the vehicle then went and collided into a parked car.
Yeah.
Could have been another family getting ready to start
Yes.
their day or whatever the case, which would have made it a lot
Even more
worse.
so, yeah, because those folks could have been, you know, harmed in a way. But this car, because she's no longer in control, she's shot and shot in the head, you know. So these are the things that we're looking at as to what were the circumstances that led up to this and where are we going, you know.
And is there a list of these terrorists that can be plastered where we can know who these people are versus, I mean, she was a neighbor. You know, I saw the woman say she was a nice neighbor. She raised her kids. Now, the way they speak about her, it's like, is she a terrorist?
Well, you know, the fact of the matter is that they have brought out that it's not necessarily they were supposed to be going after the worst of these supposed to be undocumented citizens. But what they're doing is they're going by, if somebody's speaking Spanish, we're going to lock you up. Or if somebody's speaking a language that's not English, we're going to lock you up. Well, that's not the objective. As you said, they should have a list. Okay, who are we going at? Now, when Agent Ross was drugged, they were going after a person, but this individual again was somebody that was not necessarily an immigrant. So again, you know, it goes back to how critical is your list and how accurate is your list. So those are the things we have to look at also.
So now I know that we got to wrap up, you know, in about another 5 minutes, but also too, Roy, and I appreciate all the work that you've done, especially like we're trying to double back on the detention centers that they're talking about putting around the country, and one in particular here in Highland Park.
Yes, sir.
And I know we're going to, you know, have a show in a couple of weeks with one of the state senators to talk more about
Yes, sir.
that,
Mhm.
and hopefully we can get other, personnel to come on
Yes, sir.
and discuss that prior
Bring
to
back Miss Kimberly.
bring back Chaplain Clemens. to
I'll be
come
right
back.
here praying for y'all.
But she's got all of these shows booked up till the spring. So I was saying we might even be able to kind of go and be on her show. But she got all these guests that she's got for her show. That
God is so
we
good.
might not be able to book the time to be on her show until sometime in the summer or something, if not the fall.
That's
so,
right. This time next year.
Right. Everybody be like standing outside. We just here just trying to see if we can get on the Chats and Chuckles show. But here, just get on the list.
There you go.
Be like with them waiting lists.
That's right. Yeah.
But
50 pages.
Right. And put you on a phone line.
Call in, because
Right.
you can call in.
Right. Dial one if you want.
Then the phone lines is all jammed up.
There you go.
God is so good. I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
Well, all of the viewers are grateful as well too, but the ones waiting to get on the show, they might be a little different. But the thing is that we're going to talk about that,
Yes, sir.
with one of the state senators, and then also hopefully we can talk to some other people, about
sir.
that as well.
Yes, sir.
But Roy, before we get ready to wrap up, let's just talk a little bit about the detention centers that they're talking about putting up, around the country. What is the detention center, and what is the purpose of that detention center here in Highland Park? Do you know?
Well, again, it's to grab people and put them in, incarcerate them, hold them until they are, and it's bad to say it, until they ship them back overseas, which again is a whole nother process. Wow. Because judges have stated that they have to have a process what they're doing. So what they want to do is they want to grab these folks, put them in a facility, and say, we got all these people here, now let's ship them back. Where are they going? Okay, let's get planes and ship them back. Which is also, people don't think about it, that's costing taxpayers dollars, and they haven't looked at that. So that's what the facility detention centers is all about. So they're good. And plus, if you get one right here, you got these freeways where you could just take off.
How do they choose where they want to put it? And I mean, is there any input that the community has?
That's a good question, because of the fact of the matter is that, again, Immigration's Customs Article 287G state you must collaborate or speak with the legislator, the administrator of that particular city. And it's almost like they're just going to say, we're going to do it.
Which would be like who, like the mayor or?
Yeah, the mayor of that city, the governor of the county commissioners. You want to bring all these folks in because everybody is being impacted by that.
Right.
And it's like they're not doing it. It's just, we're gonna do it. What you gonna do about it? And it's bad.
And that's not fair. That is definitely
Definitely
not fair,
not.
especially here in Highland Park or anywhere.
Anywhere, yes, ma'am.
Anywhere is not fair.
Yes, ma'am.
But I wonder what the citizens are saying here in Highland Park since they've heard that.
Oh yeah, a lot of folks are coming out, and like I said, we're gonna try to have Senator Stephanie Chang on, maybe get the mayor on, and then get some other folks, Tanya Myers, get on, and talk about these issues as far as what the people are saying, because that's who they're going to be going through, as well as the facility ownership as to what their position is.
Because the facility that they've targeted is right there at Hamilton and Davison.
Yes.
So, just like...
Wow, there's schools.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
In the area.
Plus, it's right by the freeways.
Well, that's one of the reasons, I was talking to somebody that was telling me that that's the reason why that particular facility was targeted, because it is so close, to the John C. Lodge,
75,
the Davison, 75, and then where they may be apprehending individuals to detain.
That's right.
They're looking at like Southwest Detroit, or maybe like in Dearborn, or even Sterling Heights,
Hamtramck,
Hamtramck,
Yes, sir.
So there's a lot of different, and then there's an artery, expressway, or, that's close.
There's boundaries of each of those cities that you mentioned.
So they could, if they had to apprehend somebody within about a 15-minute window, they could bring them to that facility, to house them there.
Yes, sir.
But I guess the question I just had was just that, it seemed like there's other warehouses, because that's what they were targeting, was like warehouses that they could,
big
detain
spaces
them in.
to just put them in,
And then the biggest question I just had was, we've got a facility right there on Ryan, near
Dickinson facility,
Nevada.
right.
Well, this is the Ryan Correctional Facility.
Right, exactly.
From my understanding, it doesn't really have that many people in there.
That's right.
I know back when Sheriff Benny Napoleon was still with us. That's one of the things that he was saying when he talked about the overcrowding.
Right.
In the jail. Why not house people over there at the Ryan?
Well, see, that's another thing. They're not really considering the standards and the living conditions or the lodging conditions of the people. We're just gonna throw you in, and without no comfort, no no cleanliness, proper fooding, we just
gonna get a space and throw you in there,
and put you in there, because you've seen how they compacted them with these other facilities that they've had around the country. So they really don't care.
Yeah, because we see what's happened, like even when they would detain people and have them down there in Guantanamo Bay.
Yes.
During the Obama administration.
Yes.
So that changes a lot, right there. Roy, we are getting ready to wrap up. So we have been joined today by former Councilman Roy McAllister Jr., former Police Department investigator and homicide and internal affairs.
Yes, sir.
Investigator with Detroit Police Department. And also we are joined by Miss Chats and Chuckles, chaplain Kimberly Clemens,
yes, sir.
And with the Detroit Police Department. And we hope that you have a great rest of this day. Enjoy your weekend. The weather is pretty warm out there. So again, whatever you do, stay safe and let somebody know that you love them. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin. You've been watching a very special edition of Truth to Power. We'll see you next week.